Okay, so I hope this is visible to everyone. Can you confirm, please?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so the outline of the talk will be following. So first, I will introduce what is additive number theory, and then we will define the various type of sum sets, which are the central objects of study in additive number theory, and we will discuss some results in brief. So we will mostly restrict ourselves to the group of integers z and group of residue classes modulo prime zp. So most of the people will be aware about these two algebraic objects. So we will discuss some results. So in ZP, we will discuss two important results, that will be Cauchy-Davenport theorem and this Erdős-Hilbert conjecture. And then in the last, we will see some open problems also, so which can motivate the researcher to think over these problems and maybe interested in doing research in this area. Okay, so first question is, what is additive number theory? As the talk is in the area of additive number theory. So additive number theory is a branch of number theory in which we study the set addition, in which we study the subsets of integers and their behavior under the operation addition. So algebraic operation will be addition. So more generally, in additive number theory, we also study the sum of subsets of abelian groups and commutative semi-groups in which we have operation of addition, or in general any binary operation. So that binary operation should be associative. So the principal object of study will be various type of sum sets. So sum sets are nothing but sum of two or more than two sets. So that we will define precisely what we mean by that. So suppose we have two sets A and B. Hello, is this my slide is visible to everyone?
It is visible.
Okay. Fine. So suppose we have two sets A and B in additive abelian group G. So for the time being, we can just think abelian group G as the set of integers. So then we can define the sum of these two sets like this. So first one is a regular sum set. So A plus B. So we will pick one element A from the set A and B from set B and take the sum A plus B. So that A plus B will be the element of will be one element of sum set A plus B. So we will take collection of such sums. So that will be a set. So that set is called the regular subset of A and B. And then we can define slightly different type of sum set. So we can put some restriction on the summands A and B. So here it was A plus B, where A was the element of set A, B was the element of set B. So we will put additional restriction that A and B should be distinct. A is not equal to B, and take all such collections. So that collection we denote by A dot plus B. So that is called a restricted sum set. So for example, suppose we have two sets of integers, A equal to 1 to 5 and B equal to 0, 1, 3, 5. Then we can compute A plus B. So that will be this. So for example, what will be the elements in A plus B? So it will be 1 plus 0, 1 plus 1, like that, 1 plus 3, 1 plus 5, like that. Similarly, we can have 0 plus 5 and 2 plus 3. So you can see that 0 plus 5 and 2 plus 3 both give the same element 5. So in set, we just write once any element. So similarly, we can compute A dot plus B. So here, for example, in this set, 1 plus 1 we cannot take this sum. because 1 and 1 both are same. Okay, so we have to take a different amount. So we can compute a plus b and a dot plus b in this way. Okay, so now there are some basic questions. So suppose we know the structure of the sets A and B, then can we get some information about the structure of sets, some set A plus B? So that is one problem. So a structure means suppose the set A may be in arithmetic progression, set B may be in arithmetic progression. So what will be the structure of set A plus B? So this type of problem is called direct problem. And another question we can ask, suppose we know the number of elements in the set A and B. So what will be the number of elements in A plus B or in A dot plus B in that sum set? So that is another question. So that is also direct problem. So finding number of elements in some set that is difficult because as we have seen here 0 plus 5 and 2 plus 3 both give the same element. So in A plus B number of elements will not be number of elements in A times number of elements in B. This will be less than equal to that quantity. Okay. So, but we can estimate the number of elements. We can find at least how many elements we can surely find. So that we will see. And the third question is the inverse problem. So suppose we know the cardinality of some set A plus B. That means number of elements is known in the sum set A plus B. So can we get some structural information about the sets A and B? Okay. So this type of problems are widely studied in additive number theory. So we will see some of the results. So let us start with this second questions. We want to find the number of elements in A plus B. More precisely, we want to estimate the number of elements. So let us take arbitrary set A and B. So we are just dealing with integers. So these are integer sets. So A has k elements and B has L elements. So question is at least how many distinct elements of A plus B can we construct? Okay. So just we can write the elements of set A and B in increasing order like this. A1 is less than A2 is less than AK, B1 is less than B2, so on is less than BL. So now say what will be the least element in the sum set A plus B. So in A smallest element is A1, in B smallest element is B1. So we can take that sum. So that will be the smallest element of A plus B. And similarly this AK plus BL, this will be the largest element. So you can see this sequence of elements. So in increasing order I have written. So A2 plus B1 is larger than A1 plus B1. That is an element of A plus B. Similarly, so here we are increasing this element of A. So from A1 we have here substituted A2. Then we will take A3 plus B1 like that. We can go up to AK plus B1. So now we don't have any element in A beyond AK. So now we can change B1. So we will take AK plus B2, then AK plus B3. We can go up to AK plus BL. So at least these many elements we are able to construct, and we can see that these are distinct, okay, because we have a strict inequality. So if you count these elements, so these are K plus L minus 1 in total number. So that is cardinality A plus cardinality B minus 1. So we have proved that number of element in A plus B is at least number of element in A plus number of element in B minus 1. So whatever set A and B you take, non-empty set, so at least these many elements we will always get, okay. So we have proved this result, okay. So this result you can find in a book by M.B. Nathanson. The title of the book is Additive Number Theory, Inverse Problems and the Geometry of Sum Sets. So this is published by Springer. So this is a very good reference to start research in this area. So now the next question is, here we have inequality greater than equal to. So natural question is, when does the equality hold? Okay. So can we find sets A and B so that cardinality A plus B will be exactly equal to this expression in right hand side. So let us take two arithmetic progression, A equal to 0, 1 up to k minus 1 and B equal to 0, 1 up to L minus 1. So then we can see that A plus B is subset of 0, 1, 2 up to k plus L minus 2, because the least element in A plus B is 0 and largest element in A plus B will be k plus k minus 1 plus L minus 1, that is k plus L minus 2. So this will be subset of this larger set. So here some elements may not be in A plus B. Okay. So cardinality A plus B will be less than equal to number of elements in this larger set, that is k plus L minus 1. And we already have this inequality. Cardinality A plus B is greater than equal to k plus L minus 1. So therefore we have equality. So for arithmetic, this particular arithmetic progression, cardinality A plus B is equal to this lower bound. Okay. So what about the converse? So now we can ask about the inverse problem. So suppose the cardinality of A plus B is equal to this lower bound. So can we say that A and B will be arithmetic progression? So answer is yes. So this result was proved by Nathanson. So if we have A and B finite sets of integers, then cardinality A plus B equal to cardinality A plus cardinality B minus 1 if and only if A and B are arithmetic progressions with the same common difference. So you have to remember the same common difference. If common difference are different for the arithmetic progression, then equality may not hold. Okay. So this can be easily proved. So here I will just give the brief sketch of this proof. So suppose we have set A like this, A1, A2, AK, and B is B1, B2, BL. So where elements of A and B are in increasing order. So we can just list the elements of A plus B in this form. Okay. So this starts from A1 plus B1 and this last element is AK plus BL. So we can write the elements of A plus B in another form also. So again we can start A1 plus B1. So next element we are taking A1 plus B2. And the last element is AK plus BL. So both the list contains K plus L minus 1 elements. And it is given that in A plus B we have only K plus L minus 1 elements. So if you compare both the list, so first element in both the list are same, last element in both the list are same, and since we have only K plus L minus 1 elements, so all the element in list first list must match with the elements in list 2. Okay. So here corresponding element will be equal. So A2 plus B1 will be equal to A1 plus B2. So that will give you this first equality will give you this equality. A1 minus A2 equal to B1 minus B2. So if you compare the other terms, so finally you will get this equality, which just is a definition of arithmetic progression. Means the difference between consecutive terms are same. So A and B are arithmetic progression with the same common difference. So this way we can prove. So now we had just defined the sum of two sets. So we can generalize these concepts. We can take H sets in general, and we can define the regular sum set, restricted sum set. And if we have suppose all the sets are equal, suppose A1, A2, AH, all are equal to A, then this sum set is called regular H-fold sum set. Okay. And here in the second case, which is restricted sum set, so if all sets are equal to A, then in this case we denote by this notation H hat A. So that is called restricted H-fold sum set. Okay. So we will see some results for H-fold sum set and restricted H-fold sum set in Z mod PZ. Okay. So here these are the inverse theorem that for H-fold sum set. So here if you take all sets equal to A, then cardinality HA is greater than equal to this. So this gives you lower bound, and if the equality will be there, you can only A is an arithmetic progression. And similar results holds for the restricted H-fold sum set. So cardinality H hat A is greater than equal to this quantity, and the equality holds if and only if A is a k-term arithmetic progression, provided that k is greater than equal to 5 and H lies between 2 and k minus 2. So there are some restriction on H and k. Okay. So now we will move to the group ZP. So here we will apply the polynomial method. So in the integer case, we have seen that to derive the lower bound, we could use the ordering in integers. So we can compare the elements. But if you are in arbitrary group, so there is no concept of ordering. So we cannot use that technique. So we have to use some other method. So in Z mod PZ, what will be the number of elements in A plus B? So this was first answered by Cauchy and Davenport. So that this result is known as Cauchy-Davenport theorem. So number of element will be at least minimum of P, comma cardinality A plus cardinality B minus 1. Okay. So here minimum appears. And if you take, you can generalize for H-fold sum set. So this is the generalization. Cardinality of HA is greater than equal to minimum of P, comma H times cardinality A minus H plus 1. So there are various other generalization you can see in that text which I mentioned earlier. So here we will just focus on this Cauchy-Davenport theorem, which is sum of two sets. So to prove this result, so we will apply the polynomial method. So polynomial method is based on combinatorial null still inserts. So that is a result about polynomial in several variables. So here to prove the Cauchy-Davenport theorem, just we need a result about polynomials in two variables. Okay. So this result, suppose we have a field F. So field F we can take, for example, ZP. If you take ZP, that is also a field. If you can take field of real numbers also, field of rational numbers also. Okay. So here if you take the field ZP, so here that characteristic is P in that case. Okay. And if you take the field of real numbers or rational number, then characteristic of that field is 0. So suppose Pxy is a polynomial of degree m plus n. Okay. In fxy, that means coefficients are in the field F, where m and n are non-negative integers. And further assume that the coefficient of x to the power m times y to the power n in this polynomial is non-zero. Suppose this is known. Coefficient of this monomial is non-zero. And suppose A and B are non-empty subsets of the field F with cardinality A greater than m and cardinality B greater than n, then there exists an order pair AB in Cartesian product A cross B such that PAB is non-zero. Value of polynomial P at the point AB is non-zero. So this result we will use. Okay. So this result you can find in these papers by alone combinatorial null still inserts. Okay. So we will also require one small lemma. So suppose G is a finite abelian group and suppose A and B are subsets of G with this condition, cardinality A plus cardinality B greater than G, then A plus B will be equal to G. Some set A plus B will be equal to G. So this is a type of pigeonhole principle. So using elementary set theory, you can easily prove. So this I will leave as an exercise. Okay. So let us prove this Cauchy-Davenport theorem. So what we want to prove? We want to prove that cardinality A plus B is greater than equal to minimum of P, comma cardinality A plus cardinality B minus 1. Okay. So suppose cardinality A is K, cardinality B is L. So if K plus L is greater than P, okay, that means cardinality A plus cardinality B is greater than P. And what is P? P is the number of elements in ZP, that is group ZP. So then we can apply this result. So then A plus B must be equal to G. Okay. So in this case, cardinality A plus B is exactly equal to P, and that is certainly greater than equal to this. Okay, so do I have 5 minutes?
Yes, yes. Please conclude in 5 minutes.
Okay, fine. So therefore, we can assume that K plus L is less than equal to P. So that is K plus L minus 1. This is strictly less than P. So then what will be minimum of P? P comma cardinality A plus cardinality B minus 1. That will be K plus L minus 1. So we need to show that cardinality A plus B is greater than equal to K plus L minus 1. So we will prove this result by contradiction. So suppose this is not true, then cardinality A plus B will be less than equal to K plus L minus 2. Now we will choose a non-negative integer R such that if we add R in cardinality A plus B, so that will be exactly equal to K plus L minus 2. So see, this is less than equal to K plus L minus 2. If this is equal to K plus L minus 2, then we can choose R equal to 0. If this is strictly less than, then some positive R we can choose, so that this will be exactly equal to K plus L minus 2. Now, we will construct a polynomial fxy like this. So x plus y to the power small r, whatever r we have chosen here, times product x plus y minus c, where a small c is element of A plus B. So A plus B will have several elements. So for example, C1, C2, Cn, those type of elements are there. So here terms will be like that, x plus y minus C1 times x plus y minus C2, like that. Okay, so finite number of elements are there, so finite terms are there. So here, what is the degree of this polynomial? So degree is this cardinality A plus B plus R, that is K plus L minus 2. So here, if you collect the power of x plus y, so this will be x plus y to the power K plus L minus 2, and the rest of the terms will have lower degree. So that we keep aside. Okay, so we can write in this form. So now we can see that here in this polynomial, if you take any order pair AB in A cross B, so FAB is 0. So if you pick an order pair AB, so first is if A and B, okay, so A plus B is always in A plus B. So here some C will be equal to A plus B. So because of that here factor, that term, this polynomial will vanish. And now here we will compute the coefficient of x to the power K minus 1 times y to the power L minus 1 in this polynomial. So we can use the multinomial theorem. So this coefficient is this term. Okay. So here K plus L minus 2 is less than P. K and L both are less than P. So this is non-zero in the in ZP. That means non-zero modulo P. So therefore here we can apply this combinatorial null extensor. So here M is K minus 1. So M is K minus 1 and N is L minus 1. and cardinality A is K, which is certainly greater than M, and cardinality B is greater than N. So then this result says that there exists an order pair AB such that value of that polynomial at that point is non-zero. So that is a contradiction, because we have seen that this is everywhere 0. So therefore, whatever we have assumed, that must be incorrect. So therefore, we must have cardinality A plus B greater than equal to K plus L minus 1. Okay. So then for the restricted H-fold sum set, we have this result: cardinality H hat A is greater than equal to minimum of P comma HK minus H square plus 1. Okay. So if you take here H equal to 2, so we will have this result: cardinality 2 at A is greater than equal to minimum P comma 2K minus 3. So this was the famous Erdős-Hilbron conjecture. So this was solved after 30 years using the linear algebraic method, using the concept of exterior algebra, and later this was proved by 3 mathematicians, Elon, Nathanson, and Rusa, using the polynomial method. Whatever method we have just described, so that can be found in this paper, and the linear algebraic method can be found in this paper. So proof technique is same. So actually Elon, Nathanson, and Rusa prove the result for sum set A dot plus B. So this is the lower bound using the polynomial method. So I will not, I will skip this proof because the argument is similar. Okay. So if you are interested, then you can see the book of Nathanson or that paper. Okay. Okay. So let me, I will just take 1 minute. We have, we can find several open problems in various papers and in that book also. So suppose we have sum set cardinality 2A. So lower bound is 2K minus 1. So we can ask the question, if this lower bound is slightly larger than 2K minus 1, then what will be the structure of set A? Okay. So the result is that A will be contained in arithmetic, some slightly larger arithmetic progression. Okay. So we can think about this problem for 3-fold sum or in general H-fold sum. Similarly, if the cardinality 2A is less than this quantity, then what can we say about the structure of set A, or in general for H-fold sum set A? And this type of problems we can also consider in arbitrary groups. So these are some open problems which you can think about. So you can find some applications in these 2 papers if you are interested in applications of additive number theory. So these 2 references are very good references. And if you want to study further, so you can see this text. So you can start with this text by Nathanson. Another advanced text is by Terence Tao and Van H. Vo, Additive Combinatorics. And this third one is a very advanced text. And this is the old text appearing on this subject. So you can also see this interesting text. So these are some references I have already shown in the slides. So this is all about what I wanted to say. So thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. If anyone in the audience has any question, please unmute yourself and ask your question.